So we all know the Spider-Man origin story. Peter Parker thought that he was a god, when in reality he was a puberty-exploring douchebag. So he let a criminal get away because it wasn't his problem, and that same criminal bazooka blasted Uncle Ben in the liver, and as a result, Peter Parker became Spider-Man. But what if the turntables have rotated? Instead of Uncle Ben being the one to get killed, it was instead Aunt May. And that's what we're going to be looking at today, in Marvel's What If Aunt May Died Instead of Uncle Ben. The story starts with a bunch of cops surrounding Peter's house, and Uncle Ben was out to get some milk. But unlike most father figures, he actually came back. But it looks like that trip went to waste, because he dropped it, and because he was in shock that Aunt May was shot dead, because a burglar entered their home. Peter was out for a walk at the time, and he saw all this go down, and both Uncle Ben and Peter were sobbing as a result of her death. After getting information of where the killer may be, they both went inside their home, and Peter went sicko mode and started destroying everything because this guy's blood was boiling like a Megan Fox photo shoot. He was red hot and wanted to take revenge against this killer quick, but Ben told him that he can't go. But in a move that none of you chucklenuts saw coming, Peter revealed himself just like that he's Spider-Man to Uncle Ben, and he told him that he has to find the killer, and he was going to pay. So Spider-Man swung away, and somehow, some way, this old geezer Uncle Ben was chasing after him on fucking foot because he believes that Peter is going to do something stupid, and surely Spider-Man is going to do that. Peter made it to the warehouse where Aunt May's killer is at, and this guy's power level was over 9,000 because he was dodging bullets, doing cool tricks, but all of a sudden, Peter got a good look at his face, and he quickly realized that this man is actually the same dude Peter let get away a while ago, similar to the origin story we know. This made Peter even more furious, and he showed his face to the criminal, and the killer was scared and was taking huge strides back while Peter was raging at him like an MCU fan who found out that the Batman didn't have a post-credit scene. Uncle Ben was right behind him and tried to stop him, but he was too late. The criminal took a stride back so quick, he broke through a window and fell to his death. Uncle Ben's worst nightmare came true, and he told Peter to hide in the shadows, and moments later, cops arrested Ben for murder, and Peter's heart was broken. Why didn't Peter hide in the shadows with Ben? Or instead of letting him get arrested, Spider-Man became selfless and turned himself in? I don't know, I didn't write this, but it did make for something really interesting. You see, if you think about it, now Peter has no parents, or an uncle, or aunt. He's all alone, and he was about 15 or 16 years old, and the Ward of State tried to put him in foster families, but he was too emo for them, because he would always be in a mood and lash out on other people because he's still upset that he could have stopped that criminal. And on top of that, he feels even more bad because he's not telling Uncle Ben that he could have stopped the killer in the first place, so he feels like a liar and a coward. So as a result of all this pressure, he hangs up the webs and takes a hiatus on being the spectacular Spooderman. Meanwhile, JJJ's son has recently passed away. However, Spider-Man's disappearance is something more talked about. As a result, he speaks to the public and starts hammer-fisting Spider-Man. He's throwing every insult he can to make him look bad, that he's a bad influence to children, don't have sex with him because his radioactive semen may kill you, etc. And what happened next? Oh boy, it's gonna get you more excited than Chris Evans leaking his cock. Because Peter has been hearing all this bad press from JJJ, and he's had enough. So he puts on the spandex once again and goes after him. And Peter is more vexed than a K-pop stan on Twitter, because he starts yelling at Jonah and questions why he would badmouth him for no reason to the public. And Jonah pulls on his heartstrings a little, and tells him that his son has died, and he's upset that no one cares. Spidey yells back at him, and tells him that he's not the only one to lose family. He later lets him go, and leaves him off with a warning, that if he pisses him off again, he'll spread Jonah's ass cheeks wide open and reunite him with his son. So if you can't tell, Spider-Man is a little bit of a dickhead and a lot more dark. Reason being is because he didn't get that great power, great responsibility speech. So his moral center is mostly dispersed like a patchy beard. Anyways, Peter is now homeless. He's swinging away in the same clothes and undies, pissing in his diapers, living on rooftops, and stealing food and money. He's truly become a troglodyte. But in the daytime, he's fighting bad guys. But it's not until he comes across Green Goblin where he becomes even more of a nagging Nancy. Goblin caused a lot of destruction near a building and killed many. So he had enough of Goblin's heinous tactics. And Spider-Man webs up his face and flies into a building and it explodes. It looks like to him that he just killed Goblin, and he feels even more guilt than someone paying to go watch a YouTube boxing match, and immediately he swings away. Moments later, he finds out that Goblin isn't dead, but instead he was revealed to be Norman Osborn and was sent to a psych ward. This really grinds Peter's gears because he's upset that this crafty Goblin gets leeway for killing people, and as a result, he's gonna go get rehabilitated. But Uncle Ben does jack shit, and he's decaying in a cell as an old man. So Peter decides to do the unthinkable, and he breaks Ben out of prison. Peter gets into the cell like an Adonis and tells Ben that he's breaking him out. But Ben gets up, and with his chest puffed like the big bad wolf, he tells Peter, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin. Wait, I got the roles mixed up. Fuck! Anyways, Ben tells Peter that this is not the way. Even if he does break him out, they're running from the law, and there will be no life for them. Ben took responsibility for Peter because he didn't want him to have this life. And Ben gives Peter the famous tear-jerking speech that with great power comes great fucking dumbasses. Again, I don't know why Peter didn't hide Ben when they were in the warehouse, take the blame, or swing away with him with no one looking. It's weird, but hey, we got the famous speech. Peter couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to be honest and expose the truth. He tells Ben that the man who killed May, he let run away, and he could have stopped him. Ben tells him that it's okay. Peter wouldn't have known that the killer did that, but tells him that second chances only come from you. So don't be a dumb fuck and let go of this destructive path and make a life for yourself. MJ's aunt offered Peter a place to stay, so Ben tells him to live with her, go to college, and live happy. That's the only way to honor May. So that's what Peter did. He went to school and succeeded, started dating MJ, and he's doing Spider-Man stuff when there are big threats. Everything is going well for Peter until something even better happens. The government let go of Uncle Ben on parole as a result of his good behavior. And these two lovebirds reunite properly, and they decide to work together like Batman and Alfred and fight crime together. Now, even though this story ends nicely, you may be wondering, well, that was kind of underwhelming. Technically, anyone who gets their ass sent to the gulag, the ending will be the same. Spider-Man will get the famous speech and he'll be fine. But here's the difference. In the story that we know where Ben dies, Peter gets the famous speech and just grabs onto it like it's free money from scamming kids with NFTs. There wasn't too much adversity before then that would warrant that speech to be impactful. But in this world, Peter denied the idea of great power and great responsibility. But after having everything bad happen to him occur, he finally got it drilled into his hippocampus that what he's doing is wrong, and the blessings that he has should be used for something better. Long story short, he's miles more mature here and not as whiny like we know he is. And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe and I'll see you later.